Hey folks, welcome to the DarkHorse podcast live stream number 103. That's Prime, so don't go dividing it by stuff. It's not gonna work unless you choose very carefully.
That's right. That is right. That was an excellent way to introduce us today. Wow, is there a lot going on in the world?
Yep, holy moly. Or mole, depending upon your...
My eyes didn't just like almost fall out of my head today. They almost shot their way across a crowded street. I've been so bug-eyed with some of the stuff that's happening.
I did notice them bulging when you returned home.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to some of that today, but first, some logistics. Today we're starting late, and as announced last week, we're not going to have a Q&A today. So it's just this first hour and a half, whatever it is, and then we'll be back next week at the usually scheduled time at 12:30 Pacific. A few other announcements to start, and then 3 ads, and then we'll get right into it. We are going to be talking today, once we get through the logistics, a bit about science and not science, and truth and not truth, and some of the ways that you can keep yourself healthy, and about athletes and what they are and are not allowed to do, and a little bit about giraffes, which is how we here at DarkHorse pluralize giraffe. We say giraffes.
We do. Thank you, Colin, for that upgrade to our pronunciation.
Indeed, yes. That is our friend and former student, Colin, who alerted us many, many years ago to the fact that really it ought to be pronounced giraffes.
Giraffes, yes. He also alerted us to the glory of brassicas as salad makings. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we already were eating brassicas, but
not enough of them.
But yeah, and he was vegan. He may well be still. I'm not sure. But he at one point was talking about the paucity of other clades of leafy vegetables in the salads that were available at the farmers market. It was brassica heavy, and he thought that was just a bit too much.
Oh, he was anti-brassica?
No, he wasn't anti-brassica. He just felt like it had been overdone.
Overdone. Yeah.
So the oversaturation of the farmers market salads with brassicas and giraffes are 2 of the many contributions that Colin has made to our thinking.
Well, he also helped raise our children. He was their manny for a while.
Oh, he hated that term, though. He did not like that term.
All the more reason to use it.
Sorry, Colin, if you are watching, I have no idea.
No,
actually,
Colin has such a marvelous sense of humor. I do not hesitate to chide him, because he chides right back.
He does,
force.
Yeah, but he's not able to. He can't reach through the camera and shake either of us by our lapels.
Right. Well, once we're all on Meta, then he'll be able to.
Oh, we're not even going to talk about Meta today.
No, we're
not. No. We are going to talk about why were we talking about Colin? Giraffes.
Giraffes.
Yes. Johns Hopkins is not making any sense. Some athletes are. The giraffes are dead, so they're not making any sense at all anymore. There's a lot of other things we might get to, but probably not. We have a lot to talk about today. We're in sort of a silly mood, because what are you going to do? What are you going to do when the world goes completely insane on you? Here we are talking to you, and we are grateful that you are here and listening, or watching and listening. And I was saying just before we started that I am so grateful to Bret for not just being here, for allowing us to travel through this crazy life side by side, but for actually seeing. We each see the world through our own sets of eyes, and we can compare what we see, and we are seeing the same things.
The same hard to believe stuff.
Yeah, but when my eyes bug out and almost fling themselves across busy intersections, so too, it turns out, have your eyes been bugging out quite independently in some other location.
Right.
Wow. Okay. So announcements first, though. Again, no Q&A today. With regard to our book, A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century, some people have been asking about the possibility of getting signed books lately. And we were certainly hoping that we would be able to do live events and we'd be available for signings. And of course, that isn't happening. It still may happen in the spring, but that's a long way off, and who knows what the world will look like by then. So one possibility, and so I'll just put this out there, is that some awesome Portland area independent bookseller would be willing to associate with such abominable people such as ourselves, and buy books as they were in stock, and we would sign them. And then anyone who wanted a signed copy, we've been hearing from people who are interested in having signed copies as holiday gifts, could order from that bookstore, which would then help that bookstore in sales and would also allow you to get a signed copy. So if there were, I mean, there are several amazing independent booksellers here in Portland, but we don't know if any of them are willing to associate with such people as ourselves. So
who you called
abominable. Mm-hmm.
And because we're in the Pacific Northwest, that would make us abominable rainmen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry. This is what we're like in the afternoon.
This is what we're like after our eyes have exploded from our heads. Yes.
Right.
So get in, if you know of an independent bookseller that might, or you, or are one, even better, contact our DarkHorse moderator, darkhorse.moderator@gmail.com.
We'd even take a dependent bookseller.
I'm actually done with the dependent entities that appear to be independent. I'm through with those.
I see.
Yeah. No, if it was just, if that's what was on its
all right, I'm with
shingle
you.
out front, dependent, fully owned and operated by, I would at least be interested in the honesty, the transparency. But
I will revise my statement.
Mm-hmm.
We will accept an independent bookseller or a codependent bookseller, but no dependent booksellers.
Codependent on with
other booksellers, presumably.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Why
or
not?
maybe publish. I mean, that's the way it is, right?
Publishers.
That would be a natural codependency.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're watching on YouTube, consider switching to Odysee. If you're watching right now as I'm saying these words, you'll find the chat live on Odysee and not on YouTube. Consider joining our Patreons. Please, last month, wow, this is going to be rough. Last week, we had our private 2-hour Q&A, which you can find at my Patreon, which is always a lot of fun. And Bret had one of his Patreon conversations this morning. We'll have the next one tomorrow morning. Those always usually happen, barring other things that are scheduled, the first Saturday and Sunday of the month, and our private Q&A happens the last Sunday of the month. So consider joining us there. We really do appreciate the support. And Natural Selections, which is my Substack, has got some additional attention. Last time, as we talked about, I wrote about vitamin D deficiency, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today. And you're going to probably talk about that with some external guests soon, some excellent people with whom we have now made contact. I also last week posted on Halloween on zombies that we find in the natural world, non-human zombies, but really the zombification by fungus of things like ants and caterpillars. And my post this upcoming Tuesday is going to be less political than zombies. It's going to be about why we shouldn't be medically transitioning children. So I'm just going to sort of steer away from the storm and
steer away
and go there
into the other storm,
and into quite a different kind of storm. But one to completely mix my metaphors, one with hills upon which I will die if I need to.
A storm of hills, yes.
Storm of hills, yes. A storm of hills. Okay. Without further ado, we have 3 ads this week. We are, as always, very grateful to our sponsors. Our sponsors this week are Soul, which is new to us, Relief Band, and Four Sigmatic. Soul is a brand new sponsor to us. They are a sustainable orthopedic footwear company. Now, we already, for those of you who watch regularly or listen, already have one shoe sponsor, Vivo Barefoot, and we speak about them with great affection. Why would we accept a second, given that we've been telling you, and we actually really do only accept sponsors whose products we back? Well, this company is quite different from the other, and we honestly really love them both. Vivo Barefoot specifically aims to give you the sense of being barefoot in your shoes, whereas Soul, with both their shoes and their footbeds in particular, which their shoes have their footbeds in them, brings structure back, but in the right way. And the shoes by Soul are utterly beautiful. Our 2 boys in particular have been basically living in their Soul shoes since we got the delivery a month or 2 ago, and they're gorgeous. And they get comments when they go to school.
They're hanging out with a totally better class of people now.
That's not true, but it could be.
Yeah. No,
yeah. Okay.
Conceivable.
Yeah. Soul, SOLE, has created a foot bed that is as in a great place to rest your soul. That is affordable, customizable, and improves people's everyday foot comfort. Millions of customers have already raved about this product, and 2/3 of Soul customers have 2 or more pairs of these foot beds. And it's also created its own recycling program, Recork, in which they collect and upcycle used wine corks to make their products. Recork has collected over 125 million wine stoppers that get ground down and reused into the company's own footbeds and shoes. That is really cool. Like I said, our two boys, both teenagers, handsome young men, are wearing these handsome shoes basically all the time now. Our sense from them is this, that they do take some getting used to, which Sole itself acknowledges, that they are made for the actual structure of the arch and the footbed of your foot, or the shape of your foot. So they take a little getting used to. They feel unusual at first, not painful. But once you get used to them, they provide great support for your feet and they look great. And that's absolutely true. These shoes they're beautiful. And if you're looking for footbeds to make shoes you already own, that you already enjoy, be healthy for your feet, try their footbeds. Seriously, try them. Sole has an amazing offer for first-time customers of 50% off through yoursole.com/darkhorse. So you can try Sole for yourself. That's yoursole.com/darkhorse. We're so confident, they are so confident, that you will love them, that they also offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. It's very hard to go wrong with this offer. So the Dark Horse offer of 50% off through yoursole.com/darkhorse is applicable to all items on the Sole store, be it footbeds or footwear. Our second sponsor today.
All right, Relief Band. Now, Relief Band, contrary to what some people think, is not a understudy musical act. It is a product to help you with nausea. But
Thank you.
We should talk. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
We should talk a little bit about nausea. Under ancient circumstances and some modern ones, nausea is generally a useful signal that something is off. For example, that you have eaten something that you should not have. In modernity, we still need to track our bodily sensitivities. We should not always choose to simply erase discomfort like nausea whenever we feel it. That said, some of modernity creates nausea that does no good at all. Travel sickness, for instance, can be agonizing, and relief would be lovely. Enter Relief Band. Relief Band is an anti-nausea wristband that has been clinically proven to relieve and prevent nausea associated with motion sickness, anxiety, migraines, chemotherapy, and more. Relief Band is 100% drug-free and can be used as long as you need it. Developed over 20 years ago, it is the only over-the-counter wearable device that has been used in hospitals and oncology clinics to treat nausea and vomiting. We asked a friend to try it out. Here is her testimonial. I have had nausea on a nearly daily basis from both anxiety and the need to take regular medication. Relief Band relieves my nausea in less than 3 minutes without side effects I was experiencing from anti-nausea medication. It has entirely changed my life for the better. As you are getting for a road trip or a boat trip or expecting nausea for other reasons, consider Relief Band, which has an exclusive offer just for Dark Horse listeners. Go to reliefband.com and use the promo code DARKHORSE to receive 20% off plus free shipping and no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. So head to reliefband, reliefband.com, and use our promo code DARKHORSE for 20% off plus free shipping.
Finally, our third sponsor for today is one which you will already be familiar with. It's Four Sigmatic, a wellness company known for its delicious mushroom coffee, as well as protein powders that contain mushrooms. It sounds weird. I say that every time I read this ad, but it continues to sound weird to me, and it maybe sounds off-putting, and I was skeptical, as I've said before, but I've been drinking their mushroom coffee lately, and it's really good. Four Sigmatic's mushroom coffee contains organic, fair-trade, single-origin Arabica coffee with both lion's mane and chaga mushrooms. The Four Sigmatic's ground mushroom coffee with lion's mane adds a little something, some crispness and focus. It's delicious, just like your favorite coffee, dark and nutty. All Four Sigmatic products are organic, vegan, and gluten-free, and every patch is third-party lab tested to ensure its purity and safety. Just want to say with regard to its gluten-freeness, you, as we've talked about before, need it to be gluten-free. And in this context, I have to wonder, how would they even get gluten into it? Like, where would the gluten come from? And yet this needs to be stated now because gluten shows up in so many products that aren't actually what they appear to be. So it's organic, vegan, gluten-free. Four Sigmatic has a 100% money-back guarantee. Love every sip or get your money back. So we've got an exclusive offer with Four Sigmatic on their best-selling mushroom coffee for Dark Horse listeners. Get up to 40% off plus free shipping on mushroom coffee bundles. To claim this deal, go to foursigmatic.com/darkhorse. That's FOURSIGMATIC.com/darkhorse and fuel your productivity and creativity with some delicious mushroom coffee. That is it for our ads. All right. Now we are ready to talk about other things.
Eye-bulging things.
Yeah. Do you want to start or should I?
You go right ahead.
Okay. Only a couple of hours ago, we became aware of a conversation with Francis Collins, who's the head of the NIH, on Lex Fridman's podcast. And we've both listened, but we really have had very little time to think carefully through the various ways to respond. I have pages of notes that I am not going to riff on here, but for a couple of points, and you wanted to just say something about one of the points.
Yes, I want to do that. I should say I have not gotten 100% through it yet. I'm
Okay.
Probably an hour into it.
Yeah, I have. I literally was not able to listen to the last 2 minutes yet, but I feel like I got the gist. And lots and lots
Maybe
of notes.
the punchline is in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, maybe so. So Francis Collins he's been for 12 years the head of the NIH, spanned 3 different presidencies. He is, as the head of the NIH, of course, the employer of, the boss of, the heads of all of the sub-agencies at the NIH, including the NIAID, which is the agency that Fauci leads. And without going into all of the details on the various claims in the podcast, this may not seem as strong, but one of the things that Collins says in this podcast is that in addition to SARS-CoV-2, quote, we have another epidemic in this country. It's the loss of the anchor of truth. And he, of course, is suggesting that it is people who are questioning the pronouncements that are coming out of organizations like the NIAID and the CDC and the who are losing touch with the quote unquote anchor of truth. But given how many untruths and elisions and sleights of hand that he engages in this conversation, it would seem to me that he is exactly the person who is contributing to the epidemic to which he is referring.
Yeah, it's perfectly ironic.
It is perfectly. I'm going to try to stay cool here. The other thing that I wanted to specifically mention, since we don't have,
sorry,
I
take back what I said about irony.
No. This is not on you. I'm just. We decided that I should not be let completely off leash today because. I don't think it might be fun to watch, and it'd probably be some riveting and maybe a little cathartic for me, but I don't think it would necessarily be the best use of our platform. Near the end of the conversation, Collins uses a metaphor of being a midwife in this process, and I actually did not have time to go back and remind myself of whether or not he's talking about being a midwife in the process of COVID, of the COVID response, or of the entire his entire time at NIH. But regardless, really, there are enough other things that he's done at NIH that no matter which one of those two things he's referring to, this at the point that he called himself a midwife, I think I almost punched a tree. I was out walking while listening, and he's actually, I think, a better metaphor than midwife would be that he's the doctor who comes in as a woman is getting close to being able to give birth perfectly normally, and it's hard and it's dangerous, and the fact that we're bipedal makes it more dangerous and more difficult, and the fact that we've got giant brains, all of this is true, and medical intervention has saved babies' lives and women's lives, but most births don't require it, and he's actually, rather than like a midwife who is simply facilitating what was already going to happen and helping it along, he's more like the doctor who forces full medicalization of birth. He drugs the mom and he cuts her open and he rips the baby out, and then he drags the baby away from the mom. Maybe doesn't let the baby near the mom for a little while, and then when the baby doesn't attach at the breast or is otherwise a little impaired for having had this incredibly traumatic birth experience, he blames the mother. That's what he's like, not a midwife. He's like that doctor. And this is just how dare he call himself a midwife, really?
Well, I actually kind of want to steel man his position.
Oh,
here.
Go for it. Do it.
No, my thought is that what we have is a completely disastrous public health policy in response to this pandemic has been from the beginning, and Collins has been in a position to do something right about it, which he has failed to do again and again. Yep. It is not as much his catastrophe as it is directly Anthony Fauci's. Collins is Fauci's boss. And so I would say that Fauci is more like the mother of this crisis. And Collins, it's a midwifed crisis. Let's put it that way. Midwifed crisis.
I don't get it.
Oh, no. My joke has fallen flat. Midwife crisis? Oh, see? All right.
Yeah, I don't like it, though. No, I get it now, but I don't like it. I mean, I came in the door. I was like, I'm full of adrenaline right now. But I guess I don't, midwives have been vilified. Not so recently. Like, by the time we were young adults, I think midwives were coming back into fashion. It was sort of understood that it was beginning to be understood that the medicalization of birth had been way overdone, and that midwives having been, pushed out in favor of high intervention, high credentialed doctors was maybe not the right move. But I guess I don't want to. Neither of them have been midwife-like. Right.
No, I agree.
I mean, but this is why some people don't like puns, right? It's like, oh, okay, I get what you were trying to do, but no.
Some people don't like puns.
I know.
Nobody likes puns unless you're making them, right? Yeah, Dick Alexander used to say that the person who was the butt of the pun was the person listening to it.
That's good. Yeah. No, that's probably right.
He's a very insightful guy. But anyway, so all right, this midwife thing is a way that people distance themselves from responsibility. It was happening anyway, and it's sort of falsely humble. But in this case, actually, he deserves responsibility, and responsibility for what is, in effect, an upside down response, where we've missed virtually every opportunity we had to do something useful and embraced all sorts of things that don't make any sense. And anyway, it was very disturbing. I mean, he does appear to be guileless, and yet almost everything he says in at least the first hour of this podcast strikes me as distorted, warped, misleading. It was a remarkable display.
There's a lot of very precise language that is delivered as if it just occurred.
Yeah, it's a very precise language is a good way of putting it, and a fair amount of CFA I noticed throughout.
What's that?
Cover Fauci's ass. He did a lot of, and he did it about as well as a transparent miniskirt. You could see right through him.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know.
Oh no!
It happened.
Okay, I would like the audience to recognize that image that is now in all of our heads was not put there by me. I didn't do it. Wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done it to you.
The funny thing is, I said it without having the image in my head, and now you have forced me to see that image. I
just don't think that this is my, I'm neither midwife nor I don't feel like, maybe we should not belabor the point.
Good one. Well done. Yeah, no, you have no responsibility. You're like the 60s husband in the waiting room.
Handing out cigars to rando strangers.
Yeah,
look what I'm doing. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. I should say
God.
Putative father in the waiting
room. Were you going somewhere else here?
No.
Really?
I think I was there.
You didn't want to. I thought you maybe wanted to say something about that. You had said.
Oh yeah. You were done with your point. All right. So we could move on to that point. So one of the things that he does here is he attempts to cover Fauci on this issue of gain of function, where of course Fauci lied directly to Congress with cameras running. Some of us saw it right away. You can check my tweet from that moment, in which point I said this is just a flat out lie.
No, but Bret, I mean, my eyeglasses are gain of function. So
yeah,
like what?
So Collins does this amazing thing here, which is he basically argues that gain of function is effectively meaningless because virtually everything that we do that works is a gain of function. So that's not what we science types
true.
mean by gain of function. We mean something very specific and so narrow that you almost couldn't possibly meet the definition. And then he tells us more or less where the bodies are buried, literally in this case. What he says is effectively, look, gain of function in the regulated sense only applies to human pathogens. And because we're talking about bat viruses, we're not talking about gain of function in the gain of function sense, although we may be talking about a gain of a function.
No, and it's very highly regulated. I mean, there's only been 3 influenza viruses in the last several years that have been authorized and therefore...
Right. And this is nonsense. And really its purpose is to lead you to believe that there's some very technical discussion that you are not qualified to understand. And therefore, Fauci has been simply insisting on a technical definition that you couldn't possibly care about. And, Rand Paul has been going after him based on common parlance. And it's like all some kind of scientific misunderstanding.
It does depend on what the definition of is.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's similar levels of definitional games. Games, in which, that reference to Clinton being impeached in 1996, whatever it was, the only thing at stake was actually his presidency, which to him was obviously incredibly important, but people weren't going to die over it. But in this case, these definitional games are of far greater impact.
Tremendous impact, and they are a matter of responsibility. So he also does a lot of stuff. He makes the standard play. He says that although a lab leak is possible, it's very unlikely, based on exactly zero evidence, of course. Sure. Actually, Lex asks him if this is a matter of science, if there's any way that we will actually ever know about the origin. And Colin says, well, yes, it's quite possible we will know. And Lex asks him how. And he says, well, if we find the intermediate. So basically the point is he has set up a circumstance in which only one side of the equation is testable. If it turns out to be a natural origin, then we can prove it. And there's nothing that can prove the other direction. And so, and the whole thing is just nonsense, because we can see in the grant application that was recently revealed by EcoHealth Alliance, where they wanted to enhance pathogens. The entire argument for the research program involves enhancing pathogens so we can understand how they work before the pandemic strikes us from nature. So the whole thing is nonsense. He's just creating a false story. And through the entire thing, he strikes this stance in which he is the beleaguered scientist forced to engage an ignorant public. And yes, that's his cross to bear, and he will do so willingly, so long as in the end the public comes around to the pronouncements of the public health authorities, who have of course been right from the beginning, when in fact they've been wrong again and again and again and again, and they've been revealed to be hiding things again and again. Who most especially? Fauci, again and again and again. And so why is anybody listening to this guy? Why is anybody listening to this guy? He is lying into a camera in order to mislead you back into a story that has fallen apart around him.
Yeah. And there are a lot of those examples in this conversation, which we're not going to pursue here. Right?
Right. We will allow our eyes to bulge privately.
Good for now?
Yep.
All right. I did actually want to segue to the next thing we were going to talk about with one additional thing that he said, that Collins, the head of the NIH, said in this conversation. He is asked what can be done to stop the pandemic. And he says, and again, I'm not quoting here, but the full extent of his answer is, like, again, not a quote, but the full extent of what he says to stop the pandemic in this country. And, and here as elsewhere, Lex does a good job of saying, yes, but, what about? But the full extent of his answer is vaccinate everyone, including children, socially distance, wear masks. That is it. That is the full extent of the answer that he provides for how we can stop this pandemic. He must know that's not true. He must know. He has been the head of the National Institutes of Health for 12 years. Okay? How else can we actually control this pandemic? How can individuals actually take control of their own health besides getting vaccinated and wearing masks and socially distancing, which are the three things, and making sure that their children get vaccinated if they have young children? These are the only things that he says individuals can do in order to help control this pandemic. No, he is wrong, and he knows he is wrong. Eat real food. Move your body. Supplement with vitamin D if any of the following things are true for you. If it is winter where you live, if you live at high latitudes, if you are obese, if your skin is dark, if you are sick in any way, but especially with any of the comorbidities for COVID. There are a tremendous number of things that people can do to actually take control of their own health. And by doing so, the outcomes for COVID, the chances that you will get it and the chances that you will get really sick from it, go down dramatically. Another thing that he says in this conversation, which is not true, that your health doesn't have an effect on COVID outcome. It's dead wrong, and he knows it. We talked about vitamin D last week. I wrote a piece, and we've been having conversations with people, and we're going to continue to talk about vitamin D because I feel like vitamin D is the failure of the public health officials to talk about vitamin D is pointing us yet again, as other things have before, to something being very, very, very rotten in the state of Denmark, as it were. Let's go back a ways, though. Early in the pandemic, and you can intervene here anytime you want. I may start ranting.
Hopefully it doesn't require intervention. Interjection, I think, is sufficient as long as we can just keep it to a dull roar.
Yeah. Please. Oh my God. I got you here. We got Zach in the other room. We got Fairfax sitting right off camera. I'm in really good company, guys. I'm feeling okay.
If intervention should become necessary, you've set me up to do it by wearing lapels.
I have, yeah.
Yes.
They're loose though. They give. It's not the usual kind of lapels.
I can work with it.
Okay, good. Good to know. Good to know. Elastic lapels. You can. Bret Weinstein. I can work with elastic lapels.
Actually, that probably works better in a cartoon, but yeah.
Yeah. To support us, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and consider writing a comment.
And because 1984 has captured 2021, click the link in the description to see the full clip on Odysee.